Good, happy Tuesday evening. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast right here on RK Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Tuesday evening, so let's get started right now. First up, man accused of smashing car windows in Newmarket in custody after a chase in Maine over the border of Massachusetts of New Hampshire. Let's take a listen to that video right now.
Buy now at all Cardi's Furniture and Mattresses and save double the mass sales tax.
In no-interest financing. Test Rest Nairobi's Best in Sleep from Beauty Rest, Eye Comfort, and our exclusive Nairopedic Lift.
Details at Cardis.com. Cardi's Furniture and Mattresses.
Jen, that's right. 23-year-old Travis Mosley was found in Rochester, then fled from police. The Newmarket Police Department says Mosley hit two police cruisers, then brought police into Maine. There, he was ultimately taken into custody by Maine State Police. This all started after Mosley is accused of smashing in the windows of multiple cars, including two police cruisers. Authorities say they pursued him for a short time last week, right after their windows got smashed, but had to end the pursuit in Newfields due to public safety concerns. The Newmarket Police Department says the damaged cars belong to people Mosley knows and that he's a local. Police say they will release more details on this incident in the days to come. We'll bring you updates as we learn those details on air, online, and on our mobile app. Live in Newmarket, Grace Finerman, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. President briefed on kidnapping of New Hampshire woman, daughter in Haiti. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
I say to clients often at the beginning of representation that one of the goals I have before we're done is to restore just some of the faith that you might have in the legal system by pouring our heart into your case and getting you the best result.
My name is Alex. I'm a nurse from New Hampshire, but now I live in Haiti.
Alex Dorsonville moved to Haiti to work as a nurse at a school for her husband Sandro's humanitarian organization, Elroy Haiti.
Haitians are such a resilient people. They're full of joy and life and love. And I'm so blessed to be able to know so many amazing Haitians.
Alex is originally from Stratford County. She and her daughter were kidnapped from the school's campus 5 days ago. And now her loved ones, her country, and people from her newly adopted home are calling for her abductors to safely return her and her child.
I'm going to be limited in what I can say here on this.
The White House says the president is aware of the dangerous, ongoing situation. The U.S. Department of State says it's working with Haitian authorities and that there is no higher priority than the safety and security of U.S. citizens overseas.
It's probably the most prudent thing for us to do to not publicly talk about those efforts in any great detail as the situation is still precarious.
Both of New Hampshire senators are working with the state's department to bring Alex back to where she belongs.
It is particularly heartbreaking. Granted, staters roll up their sleeves and they help people. We are strong believers in community, and Alex certainly exemplifies that.
And the State Department has issued a no travel advisory to the country for Americans, citing risk of kidnapping, crime, and civil unrest. Senator Hassan hopes that people take that advisory seriously. In Portsmouth, Kelly O'Brien, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Man arrested in connection with shooting in Claremont charged with burglary. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Jen, that's
That's right. Cody Barden was charged with robbery, burglary, criminal threatening, and simple assault. But court documents say those charges stem from an incident where Barden and another man broke into a home, and that's when shots were fired from the person inside. All of this, witnesses telling police, was over stolen clothing. When police got to the scene, they talked to the 21-year-old man who fired that gun. He says he was sitting in the living room when he heard commotion coming from the kitchen. That commotion, according to court documents, was two men barging into the home. When he turned the corner, police say he saw two men, one of them holding a gun. That 21-year-old told police when one of the suspects raised their gun, he shot two bullets in their direction. During all of this, a woman in the home was hit with a gun. She identified one of the men as Barden. That's him on your screen right there. 21-year-old Emily Engerman was also arrested and charged with falsifying physical evidence. Court documents say she wiped blood off the passenger side door in a car that belonged to a 34-year-old who was shot. Police say that man that was shot was taken to the hospital. There's no word on his condition at this time.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Plans for new forensic psychiatric facility in New Hampshire move forward. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
So the question is, why should you choose our firm over all the firms that you can find in the universe? We have the experience.
That's right, Marissa, including for some who are currently being treated at the secure psychiatric unit in the Men's State Prison. DHHS is overseeing the project, which they estimate will be built by the summer of 2025. During an informational session last night, officials said they plan to start with 24 beds, but are willing to expand as needed. The facility would serve patients involved in the criminal justice system with serious mental illness, unable to stand trial, or found not guilty because of their illness, or who cannot safely be treated at New Hampshire Hospital. Officials said not all of the current patients being held at the state prison would fit the bill for this new facility, but they are going to be working with the Department of Corrections to figure out which environment will suit patients best based on their needs. People who have loved ones seeking this type of treatment tell us they hope this would be more rehabilitative than the current system in place.
Too often, mentally ill individuals are incarcerated and then sent to New Hampshire Hospital, which isn't really equipped to rehabilitate. And as soon as they're medicated and well enough to be released, they're either back in jail or they're on the streets, depending on what's happened.
And officials said they're still going to keep that SPU open for patients who need to be incarcerated, but hope that this can be a better alternative for those who are civilly committed there. Live in Concord, Hannah Cotter, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Police investigate whether armed robberies in Keene and West Chesterfield are related. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
It flushes.
There you go. All fixed.
This is my house.
There's nothing like...
These pictures show the armed robber in West Chesterfield. You'll notice he's wearing all black and a mask. He also has some very distinctive shoes. Police say around 10:30 last night, he walked into the Shell gas station on Route 9. The man was armed with a gun and demanded money. He then went behind the counter and started taking money and merchandise. After robbing the store, police say he ran away towards the Vermont border. A state police canine was brought in, but was unable to track him. Fortunately, no one was injured in the robbery.
It was 1 week ago today that this convenience store in Keene was robbed. Now police are investigating to see if the same man might be responsible for both.
The Keene robbery happened at the Irving Circle K convenience store on West Street. After the robbery, Keene police say the man also ran away, in this case through the parking lot of the adjacent savings bank. While the outfits differ slightly, the Keene robber was also dressed primarily in black, although he was not wearing a mask. The shoes are also unusual. The man was also armed with a handgun, which he pointed at the clerk and demanded money. Again, no one was injured in the robbery. If you have any information about either robbery, you're asked to please get in touch with Keene or Chesterfield police. In Keene, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Trump indicted by Washington, D.C. grand jury over alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Let's take a listen to that video from CBS News.
We begin with breaking news in one of the special counsel's investigations of Donald Trump. A federal grand jury here in Washington has voted to indict the former president for his efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Among the charges include conspiracy to defraud the United States, obstruction of an official proceeding, and a civil rights era law that makes it a crime to oppress, threaten, or intimidate a person of their free exercise or enjoyment of any right in the Constitution. It is just the second time in American history that the Department of Justice has filed criminal charges against a current or former U.S. president. Special Counsel Jack Smith announced the indictment just moments ago. Today's charges are related to Trump's attempts to challenge the result of an election he lost, plans for fake electors, and his role in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Trump responded to today's news on his social media account, calling Smith deranged and the indictment election interference. CBS News' Robert Costa has today's late-breaking details and starts us off tonight. Robert, good evening.
Good evening, Major. An historic day with the former president and the current Republican frontrunner, Donald Trump, being accused by the Justice Department of spearheading a criminal conspiracy against the United States. According to the indictment, for more than 2 months following Election Day, the defendant spread lies that there was fraud in the election and he had actually won. These claims were false, and the defendant knew they were false. The former president was also charged with impeding the January 6th congressional proceeding where the 2020 election outcome was to be verified and led to the storming of the Capitol by Trump supporters.
The attack on our nation's Capitol on January 6th, 2021 was an unprecedented assault on the seat of American democracy. As described in the indictment, it was fueled by lies. Lies by the defendant.
The indictment lists 6 unnamed co-conspirators. The actions described possibly match the conduct of former Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani, lawyer John Eastman, and a former Justice Department official. The indictment also says Trump and some of the co-conspirators attempted to reach senators late on January 6 to ask them to delay the certification vote even more so they could get states to object to the count. Sources tell CBS News former President Trump's legal team is now mapping out a new strategy to push back on the charges, shifting blame onto lawyers who were advising him at the time of the aftermath of the 2020 election. In a recent social media post, Trump noted his attorneys met with the Department of Justice, saying they explained in detail that I did nothing wrong and was advised by many lawyers. Sources say the strategy could involve trying to pin blame on John Eastman, Trump's former lawyer, who sought to have former Vice President Mike Pence refuse to certify the 2020 election results, and presented Trump with a memo outlining a plan to do so. But those familiar with the special counsel's work say Trump's conduct is being deeply investigated, and that prosecutors are skeptical that Trump was just following advice.
Just because an attorney gives you advice, an attorney does not provide a defense if the attorney is suggesting you go out and violate a criminal law. That's not a defense.
The next step in this process will come on Thursday when former President Donald Trump has been summoned to appear in Washington before the grand jury in federal court.
Robert, let's talk about the president's potential lines of defense. The indictment lists 6 unindicted co-conspirators, and the president has said on his social media account, or at least implied, that he was taking advice. Could that, I was just taking advice from lawyers, provide him with the means by which to defend himself against these charges?
That is the defense that is being mounted by former President Trump's legal team. But as a federal prosecutor just told CBS News, just because a lawyer advises you something doesn't necessarily mean you have to take that advice. And
if the lawyer is advising you on something that could be breaking the law, you would be breaking the law if you go along with that advice. So the special counsel, based on our reporting, does not believe that Trump's argument is going to hold water as this case moves forward. And instead, they're focusing on the advice Trump got and also how he tried to push the lawyers along to say to them, let's really try to make this happen and have me stay in power.
Robert Costa, thank you so much for being with us.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on RK Network. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Have a great evening. Good night and goodbye.